in South Africa. A new University of the Free State study has found hormone-disrupting chemicals in every sanitary pad and pantyliner tested from brands sold in South Africa, even those labelled organic or chemical-free. The research detected phthalates, parabens and bisphenols in all samples, with at least 2 such substances in every product. Now, the University of the Free State scientists warned that millions of women face regular exposure and are calling for clearer labelling, tougher safety regulations and urgent further research. And for more on this, we are joined on the line by Team Free Sanitary Pads founder, Nokuzola Ndwandwe. Nokuzola, good afternoon and thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Thank you so much for having me on the show.
So, your reaction when you saw this research study, what went through your mind?
It was a sigh of relief because we've had this information for a very long time by international researchers. I've been educating young girls and women on the content contained in the menstrual products and the chemicals and the toxic dioxins that are found in menstrual products since way back from 2023. However, it's the first time we've had the actual research being conducted locally in our country, and also with the specified brands being listed and actually publicized to inform the public of what we've been actually preaching and educating young girls and women, especially in rural communities and in schools.
Now, when you say specified brands, the research is basically just mentioning brands sold in South Africa. How does this new research now shape Team Free Sanitary Pads messaging about product safety and transparency?
It strengthens our message. It strengthens our presentation that we made in Parliament last year in February 2025 to the Portfolio Health Committee, and also I think in the previous years, because we've been doing presentations in Parliament in terms of bringing about awareness when it comes to menstrual health and hygiene management, and the fact that we need menstrual health to be recognized as a health issue rather than just the products and how they've been treated in the past as just luxury goods. So now this strengthens our call for regulation for menstrual health rights bill and law. The fact that we were not just presenting in Parliament for the sake of presenting lived experiences and some menstrual health related illnesses, specifically with myself having experienced endometriosis, that it's actually a reality that, I did mention that it's concerning that how as a young woman you grow up and you don't have any form of reproductive health concerns, you are young and healthy until you start menarche, and then after a few months or so you start experiencing these severe period pains or irregular menstrual cycles. And then I've always positioned it in Parliament to say that perhaps we should do more investigations around the menstrual products to say that the menstrual products could have an impact in terms of the menstrual health-related illnesses such as endometriosis, cervical cancer, and PCOS, as well as fibroids. The chemicals contained, because the use of synthetic fibers, bleach, cotton, not exactly real cotton, but rather recycled plastic material, which is not breathable, is very concerning because, the reproductive health system is actually a breathing system. It absorbs everything that is actually used around the reproductive area.
And given that many of these chemicals migrate from, as you've touched on, plastics and adhesives, during manufacturing, what steps will your organization or should the government take to source or produce pads that eliminate or minimize such contamination? And with the studies and research that has been done and with everything that has been found currently now in South Africa, what is the reaction of some of these companies that are found to be wanting?
Some of the companies are tone deaf, of which is expected. from the past as well. Previously, we've campaigned against toxic positivity around menstrual health, and that organizations need to be more realistic about how they present menstrual health without perpetuating the stigma. So, and some organizations usually are defensive and are tone deaf until we put pressure and actually make them recognize that what they are doing is actually detrimental to the end user, to the consumer, to women's health as an overall. And so one of the organizations released a statement saying that the menstrual products are SABS approved, which is concerning, and that they are transparent in the packaging, of which it is false, because you want packaging that actually displays and illustrates the content as well as the material that's contained in the menstrual product, of which is something that most menstrual brands have not yet achieved and are yet to achieve if we actually get a regulation and a legislation that actually provides guidelines as to what is required, because SABS mostly tests the external factors such as the absorbency or the packaging instead of the chemicals that are actually contained in the menstrual products, and for the fact that they don't test for the health implications of what's contained in the menstrual products. So we need organizations like the SAPRA, the health regulatory body, to actually step in with medical experts to actually test the products that are distributed in markets, and actually multinational and local brands need to recall the products that are actually of a detrimental nature rather than issuing statements that are false and that are misleading and that actually further cause damage when it comes to women's health.
Now, one of the researchers, Professor Fisser, recommends looking for OCO Tech Standard 100 certification or switching to reusable pads. How feasible is it for South Africa to adopt these standards? And what challenges do you anticipate in scaling up reusable options? I mean, already I can just see women saying reusable. Is that even a possibility?
If we must be frank and we must be realistic and we must be aware of the fact that majority of South Africans do not have access to safe sanitation and clean water, then the reusables, even though they're actually very good for women's health, they are often not as accessible. And at times they are almost an expensive alternative because of the nature of the maintenance that comes with reusable menstrual products. They require water, they require access to detergents, they require access to, drying the product at high temperatures, or rather drying them through the sun. But not a lot of women and young girls have access to this type of lifestyle. And so I think as much as we'd like to promote it, we also have to be careful as to the type of reusable pads that we are promoting, that the reusable pads actually have antibacterial contents in them, that they have a high absorbency, and that they actually can be used by that young girl or that working woman, because also the hours that it takes to actually change the menstrual products, the hygiene and the care that comes with it. But however, during this period, I think it's also, it could be a feasible option if women are assisted and young girls are assisted, particularly women and young girls residing in remote communities and rural communities. Perhaps the South African government needs to do more than just product distribution, but also deal with the matter around safe sanitation and access to clean water and safe bathrooms for young girls.
Nokuzola, very quickly, just in wrapping up, we have run out of time, but legally, is there a case here? Are we likely to see some cases mushrooming against the brands and companies?
Taking the brand support is a last resort, but it is brewing. Women and young girls are actually they're not in a good space right now, in the sense that health is expensive. But the fact that you have misleading and organizations that are not transparent in the type of menstrual products that they distribute in the economy makes matters even more worse. It's almost like they're creating a vicious cycle around period poverty. And so, yes, there is some form of an uprising brewing. We've been marching since way back, but now I think we'll do more than just march and actually take legal action, whereby I've had legal minds come forward and send me messages and emails saying that they'd like to discuss a way forward as to how we can achieve regulation in terms of protecting women's rights. And I mean, we've been calling for the Menstrual Health Rights Bill. We've been having debates in Parliament, and I think this is an opportunity to actually bring about the protection of women's rights.
Nokuzola, thank you so much for joining us on Africa Update. That was Team Free Sanitary Pads founder Nokuzola Ndwandwe joining us on the line.
Parlez-vous couramment le français? Êtes-vous passionné